Hello and good evening to this success party of uh, The Forgotten Palace and The Betrayed Prince, written by Shani Ranjan. This is the first time TCC is holding a success party. I mean, we have had book launches before and author interviews. It's the first time we are holding a success party. And the reason being that the book released last month and it has had stupendous success since then. It's constantly in the trending list and the reviews are pouring in and the reviews have been extremely positive. That is something that Shalini is quite happy about. And I personally am also quite happy about because a little information here, I'm the editor of the book. So I've worked quite hard behind this with Shalini. So I'm really happy that the book is doing so well. So we were supposed to have an event about a couple of weeks earlier, but then we decided to wait for let the book, for people to read the book and then have this Zoom party, success party. So I think we should get started, and we'll get started with a little introduction of the book and then a little introduction of the person who's written the book, Shalini. So I think by now all of you know the book, know the cover. It's a beautiful cover. And the book is called The Forgotten Palace and the Betrayed Prince. Quite a long title, and it's a long book as well. But I think it's worth it. To those of you who have read it and were reading it, I think it's worth it. And we come to the author, Shalini Ranjan. So Shalini Ranjan developed a passion for writing during her teens. An ardent science fiction reader herself, she has a flair for writing stories with a twist. She is lucky to be married to the man of her dreams, whom she met on a train while pursuing her MBA from MICA. She works as a consultant with one of the big fours, and when she is not giving wings to her imagination, she indulges in playing make-believe superheroes, chasing down villains with her two munchkins. Shalini firmly believes that if you set your mind to anything, you can achieve it. In today's world, where everyone is stressed out and is looking for an escape from their present reality, Shalini can transport them to a completely different world through her work of fiction. She has four best-selling romance books to her name, including her latest release, and has contributed to many anthologies and e-magazines. She has also contributed to TCC's anthologies as well. So, bravo, Shalini. Good going. So, Shalini, what do you have to say about the book, the journey of writing the book? How did you come up with the concept, the title, and everything? Give us a behind the scenes kind of rundown.
Thanks, Neil. Uh, the idea of this book came when I was doing my MBA, and some of my MBA friends who are there on this event today know about it. So I wanted to capture the college flavor, college days into the story, and I was inspired by the likes of Chetan Bhagat, and I wanted to do something that that mirrors MICA, the culture of MICA, the journey that a MBA student undergoes. And while I graduated from college, I wanted to write something different, like bring the concept of two worlds, living in two worlds, past, present, how the transition happens between them. And also, I wanted to toy with the concept of, a person loving two people at the same time. So kind of I merged all of these ideas together, and that is how the story evolved. And it was not a 1 day or 1 week or 1 month journey. I think it took me 5 years, and my husband Rajesh has been a very much as much involved with as me in the story, because we broke our heads, like we put together our heads too much into this story. We used to get stuck into it. We used to struggle with plot points and so many things, because this is in many terms my first book, even though it is released like now, but it is the first book that I started, and it took me the longest to complete. So it took a lot of time to be where the book is right now. So yeah. And coming to the title, of course, this was not the title I originally planned, but I wanted to give it a different title. And one of my friends suggested this idea, because whatever title I was coming up with, my husband was shotting it down. You shot some of them down, Niladri. So one of my friends suggested, just to write down whatever comes to your mind when you are writing titles. So I came up with like 40 to 50 titles, and this was the one that that was voted the most, because it struck a chord with most of the people because of the adjectives or the flavor. So that's how the title stuck. Yeah.
Okay. And how was the writing process? You said it took a long time for you to write the book, 5 years,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
what was that process like? Like, or what were you only writing this book in those 5 years, or you were writing something else and coming back to it? What was that process like?
Yeah, so this was my first book, so I didn't know how to write a book. I didn't know if I could finish it in the first place. So yeah, I did try my hands at other short books, novellas, which are like 1/4 the size of this book. And most of you must have read those books. So yeah, I went there, wrote another book, then came back to this, because I used to get stuck in this to break free, get out of that writer's block kind of thing. I used to write something else. So yeah, in that 5-year period, I did complete 2 other books. So it was a struggle.
I let a
Yeah.
little cat out of the bag. This was the first book that Shalini actually approached me for to edit, and then this book just got a sidetracked, and we started working on 2 other books. If I'm not wrong, we worked on 2 other books, and then Shalini just called me up one fine day and said, "I'm ready to publish this, so please start working on this one." And I had completely detached myself from this book because I didn't know what was happening with it. And then I had to again reorient myself, read the entire thing, and then start editing. And then I think the editing, Shalini was really anxious while we were editing it, that whether I'll be able to finish it on time, things like that. So I used to get messages at all hours of the day saying, will the book finish and all that. I said, hopefully it will finish. Thankfully it finished. Otherwise, Shalini would have killed me. And so when you started writing, why did you get the idea of this 2 parallel timelines and stuff like that? You're a sci-fi fan, I understand, but why the idea of going back in time and not forward in time? Because you could also go forward in time.
Yeah, I think it was easier to go back in time. And I was inspired by other contemporary authors, and that's where that's where I got this idea, and I loved reading books that toy with 2 storylines together, like 2 parallel stories go on together. So wanted to explore that side and tie it together. So I really like this idea that how would I feel if I go back suddenly, 500 years, the Indian time, how would a present day person feel if you are suddenly thrown back in time? The culture, everything changes. Like the facilities go for a toss. So all of those things.
You don't have Zoom calls, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's hear from someone who has been Shalini's biggest beta reader, I guess, Rajesh. So let's hear a bit from him first.
Yeah. Thanks.
The introduction of Rajesh first. Rajesh, please, there is an entire slide for you. So Rajesh is an HR professional who is an XLRI Jamshedpur graduate. He's currently the Vice President HR at Coforge, which is a technology consulting services company. Rajesh is Shalini's life partner and a major support pillar of Shalini and a major contributor to her beautiful stories. They have been married for the last 11 years with 2 beautiful kids, Ishan and Ishita. Rajesh is an emotionally strong individual and believes that once you put your mind to anything, you can achieve anything in life. It's a constant source of motivation by Shalini to pursue writing. I believe she has the caliber to become one of the most famous authors of today's generation. That's cool. I think we all believe that. So Rajesh, page is yours. What do you have to say about Shalini and the writing, and especially this book?
Thanks, Nilatri. I would say this book is actually, there's a lot of efforts, as Shalini mentioned, that both of us had, because when Shalini was writing this book for the first time, whenever she used to get stuck, we used to discuss it for hours together.
Right now, I
Uh,
think
please mute yourselves. Whoever is not speaking, please mute yourselves. Thank you. Sorry, Yash, yes.
Yeah. So what I was saying is we used to discuss it for hours together whenever she used to get stuck. And, there was a lot of brainstorming that we did on each of the situations, each of the plots that are present in this book. And that is why it took a lot of time, because we were not in a rush to finish the book. This was something which she was very passionate about, and she wanted to give it her best shot, because she was new to writing. And as she mentioned, she didn't know how to write. And hence, it was all the more important for us to, to put together something which people would like. So that was the intent. And a lot of hard work was there behind, putting this book together. And that is why even I feel very close to this, because I also recall, most of the parts of the book which, where both of us had, where both of us had actually discussed each of these things together. So I would say it's a lot of hard work that was put in together. And I think all of that is coming to fruition now, with so many people giving extremely good reviews. And I was just going through some of those reviews, and people have really liked, this entire story. And I was a little skeptical, because this is a very long book, right? This is a very long story. So what I was wondering is whether people would really be interested in reading this long a book. But I feel it has captured the attention of most of the readers. So I'm pretty happy that it is successful.
Yeah. Actually, Raj, I had a question for you. When you first met Shalini, was she already writing back then, or did she start writing after you guys met?
Yeah, she always used to write. So she's been writing since childhood. Uh, when she met me, I was just like, I pushed her all the more. So I wanted her to pursue her passion. This was one thing which, this is one thing which actually gives her a purpose in life. And I believe, if there's any such thing which gives you some purpose in life, you should definitely pursue it.
True, true. It's also very important, as writers, I mean, personally speaking, also I can relate to something you said, that it's very important to have some purpose, because a lot of times we are so caught up in our daily work, because for a lot of us, I think for 90% of people who are writing today, at least in the independent circuit, writing is not our primary profession. We are doing something else, and writing is more of a passion than a profession.
Right.
It's very important to have someone at home who's like a support system, who understands that it's not something that may always give you a lot of returns monetarily, but it's something that fulfills some gap in your life that you can't really explain, but it just it's sort of like catharsis in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
kind of refuge from all the hustle bustle of life. So yeah. So thank you, Rajesh. Thank you for your.
I'd like to say something here, actually, Niladri. First of all, congratulations, Shalini. The success of your book has been stupendous. And now we finally get to meet the man behind Shalini's success. So congratulations to both of you. I mean, your support, Rajesh, of Shalini has been really incredible. And whenever I hear something about you, and she's always praising her husband, and I'm like, okay. So there are so many women authors who, when they write, their husbands are not as appreciative or are very dismissive. I mean, even in TCC, we have had people who have told us, my husband is saying my book won't do well. So that belief in Shalini's dreams, I mean, that has been inspiring for all of us, actually. So we can just, imagine what Shalini, that spirit she gets from you to just continue. And
I think it's the other way around. So probably Shalini would not believe so much in herself as much as I do. And I keep telling her that one day, you will definitely become one of the most famous authors. So I think it's the other way around with me.
Yeah, it's good, because Chitra is right. I mean, we literally had someone telling us that they were writing the book, and they told us, me and Chitra, that I'm not gonna pursue it because my husband just says that it's gonna just go into the trash bin. So That was pretty disheartening to hear. Okay, so after Rajesh, we have Pragati.
Yeah, hi, I'm here. Hello.
Hi. So I'll just read out a little bio of yours that Shalini has provided. So this is Pragati Rana. Pragati is the executive creative director who's formed an advertising agency called Dentsu Creative. She has more than a decade of experience in advertising and has worked on clients ranging from P&G, Complan, Tata, Sony Pictures, Horlicks, Sensodyne, Vespa, and many more. She has won 6 Cannes Lions, which are advertising world's biggest awards, and many other awards, including Spikes Asia and Curious. She won the Women Disruptor Award by Ad Gully in 2020. Welcome, Pragati. Welcome to this success party of Shalini's book. So please say a few words about Shalini, her book.
Yeah. So first of all, congratulations, Charlie. Again, another big feat and another one of those inspiring things that you've done that, has inspired not just our batch of Micans, but, like a lot of women around you, right? And so the thing about Charlie, even back in the day in Mica, was that she used to study. She was the one who would finish her assignments on time. She would participate in extracurricular activities. She would go for parties, then come back to her room, and you will find her typing away on her computer, right? And we would joke around, "Ki, kya kar rahi hai Shalini? Kya kar rahi hai?" And then she would be, in those days, I'm talking about 2010, 2011. She would be writing a blog. And हम लोग ऐसे ही हंसते हम लोग टाइम वेस्ट करते थे आवारागर्दी करते थे बट शार्ली was always like this. I think it was something from inside her that was calling out to her. उसका दिन खत्म नहीं होता था अगर वो लिखती नहीं थी कुछ. And from that point, she was, what I've observed about Shalini is that she's a very observant person. She's a very sensitive person. Though in some situations, like she's been one of my closest friends from that time for the last 10 years. And the thing about her is that she gets people, right? Like she gets their motive, she understands people. फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन से ही काफी चीजें वो समझ लेती है. हम लोग को टाइम लग जाता है डिसाइफर करने में पीपल को फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम, बट शी गेट्स पीपल, राइट? एंड शी इज अ वेरी हाईली सेंसिटिव पर्सन, सो she does not have to make that effort. So I think that is what makes her a very intuitive writer. And another thing about Charlie is that she's full of imagination. Now, of course, now the world knows because she's written this very fabulous book, this The Forgotten Palace. But I think what really comes naturally to her is imagining things that don't even exist. And like she's done in this book, like bringing two worlds together. I think so because I'm also like a copywriter. I work in an ad agency. The struggle always with writing is that if you can write about a lot of things, right? You take a lot of creative leaps, but the biggest struggle is how do you stitch them together. एक कहानी में आप कैसे एक साथ ले आते हो, because it's very easy to shoot off creatively, but I think Shalini has that and it comes naturally to her. I think उसको तो effort भी नहीं करना पड़ता. It's very effortless for her. She's brought together those two worlds very seamlessly, very nicely, and I think it's her imagine, like she's written along for us. मतलब अगर मेरे को कोई कह दे कि कल को भाई book लिख दो, I think I'll faint or might die, right? But for her it is just like वो कर लेगी, like for her it is very, it's something that will come very naturally to her and वो लिखती जाएगी. And so I think that is very fantastic about her. And the third thing I find is that some years back she published a book. She's always so she's always so creative, right? Like she's very productively creative. जैसे हम लोग ऐसे सोचते रहते हैं, टाइम वेस्ट करते रहते हैं, सितारे देख रहे हैं, तारे देख रहे हैं, कंटेंट देख रहे हैं in the garb of कि अच्छा I'll get inspired. But Shalini just writes. I think वो कहते हैं ना, for writers, the biggest advice that is given to writers is that if you want to be a writer, just write. I think Shalini is for me, she's very personally inspiring because she just writes and she writes in a very fantastic way. Like her writing is great. It's very human. It's very imaginative and creative at the same time. So maza hai. There is never a dull moment in her book. Like in this book also, she's straddling two worlds. She's straddling two eras, right? There are cultures coming in of two different places. So I think that itself has, जैसे हम लोग कहते हैं कि brand world होता है, so she's already created that world. So I think this book will do fabulous, Shalini. I really congratulate you. And in fact, look, I aspire to be like you one day. And I think, it's extremely fascinating to be around such people. And it's a privilege to be here on this call talking about this book. So thank you so much. And congrats again. And अगर कुछ gossip चाहिए होगी शाली के लिए, so please reach out to me again, Nilenj.
Thank you, Pragati, and I'll surely do that. The last one I'll surely do. So now let's hear a little excerpt from the book, Shalini. So any excerpt that you like, a little passage from the book that you could maybe read out.
Okay. Okay, I'll read a small passage, maybe.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so here it goes. Priya looked up and saw that the skies were beginning to change and dark clouds had started to gather overhead. A moment later, she felt a drop on her forehead, and in just another couple of minutes, there came a heavy downpour. She frowned. Wait, it was still summer. Her semester had just started. Monsoon was long away, but the rain was too rhythmic, too real. A strange sense of tranquility enveloped her, and she realized what was happening. Of course, I am dreaming. This is all a dream. That had to be the only rational explanation for everything. She was in a dream, and all she needed to do was wake up. The problem, however, was that she did not know how to do that. The rain was getting heavier, and by now she was completely drenched. She turned, looking around for a shelter, and she saw a huge palace at the far end of where she was standing. Left with no other option, she began running towards it, but in her haste, and because of the muddy ground, her feet slipped, and she stumbled down what seemed to be a valley before hitting her head on a rock and passing out. That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So anybody who has not read the book, I think this is quite an interesting, intriguing passage, and you can definitely buy the book, read it. It's a long book, but it's worth it. So it's a great book. So moving on, we have another speaker. I think again somebody who knows Shalini quite well. That's Abhilash Ruhela. Hi Abhilash, and please unmute yourself. I'll also give a little introduction of Abhilash. Abhilash is a Mumbai-based blogger who loves writing on spirituality, philosophy, and books. He has been blogging for the last 13 years with 2,000 plus blog posts, including 700 plus book reviews. His blog is read by the likes of Amitabh Bachchan, Robin Sharma, Amish Tripathi, Chetan Bhagat, and is widely followed by youths, readers, and aspiring authors. Welcome, Abhilash. Good evening.
Hey, hi Niladri, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're loud and clear. So,
Okay.
what do you have to say about Shalini and her books, but especially this book, The Forgotten Palace?
Yeah, so actually I got introduced to Shalini this year itself. I think it was around June, July when I, read her book, The Imperfect Deception.
Mm-hmm.
When you read an author, because as you read in my profile that I have read around 700, 800 books, I review them.
Mm-hmm.
So I read that book and that was also a very distinct concept. And I liked Shalini so much, and I even told her that your writing is very different, and the way she has conceptualized about parenting and the whole relationship part was very interesting. And just 4 months passed, and I read this another update about Shalini's book on Amazon, and I thought, other authors take around 2 to 3 years to come with a new book, and here this author has come again within 3 to 4 months, and that book was, I if I'm not wrong, around 265 pages, right? The Imperfect Deception. And
that
when
was
I
quite a long book, yes.
Yes, and when I read the description about the Forgotten Palace, it was more than 350 pages, and I thought, how could someone write such a long book in such a short period? Now, through your conversation, I got to know that she has invested quite a couple of years into it. and you can, and a growth in a writer's writing can be understood from the kind of books they write. So The Imperfect Deception was something I had rated 3.75, and when I read this one, I rated it 4.5. So that's not how it generally happens with authors, because they give their best in their initial books, and then they run out of the concepts, they run out of the imagination, and then they just write for the sake of writing. But with Shalini, we can understand that she has many more ideas with her. And regarding this book especially, the way the love triangle has been introduced, where one character is in the 15th century and another is in the 21st century, and the way the single character of Priya is uh, dealing with both of them. And generally, when a book is written in two different timelines, you get attached to one of them, and you want to skip the other one. But it was very interesting that both the timelines keep you interested with it, and you want to know. And you actually, and there comes a point in the book where the main protagonist Priya is only going to be able to select one of them, and then that becomes painful as a reader. I hope I'm not going to give
No
much spoiler.
spoilers, please. I'm
Yeah, I'm
halfway.
not, I'm not going to give much spoiler, but then it becomes very, difficult as a reader to read and, cheer for them. And I was just expecting that Shalini will do something so that both the love stories can go on, but we know that some things are possible, some things are not, and the way Shalini has dealt the whole thing is wonderful. And now I'm more interested in reading, what Shalini will write, because the kind of leap that she has taken from the first to second book is quite, quite nice. So I'm just expecting her next book to be more marvelous and beautiful.
Thank you, Abhilash. I mean, I think those were very encouraging words, Shalini. So I hope the next book is as good as this one. So again, quickly moving on, we'll come to Mahesh Wani. Little introduction of Mahesh. Mahesh is Shalini's batchmate and remembers sitting next to her during the first ever class at MICA when they started in 2009. Since then, he has been one of her close friends on campus and has been keeping track of Shalini's progress post their course. He is an e-commerce professional and has moved around the globe since he left MICA. He is currently settled in Canada and is a part of our event today to congratulate Shalini on her book launch. Mahesh is one of the friends that Shalini has spoken to about her dreams of telling stories back when they were in college, and he is extremely proud of her today as he sees her making her dreams come true while being a mother and a professional. So, Mahesh, again, the stage is all yours.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Really, it's a pleasure to be here. As I mentioned, like with Shalini was my first friend on campus, and I think as Pragati was mentioning earlier, right? She was what was that Micah Minds? Was it the group? It was the least popular group on the Micah campus that people wanted to be part of. That was more for like writing blogs and things for giving it was like a literary committee or something like that. And she and I think there were one or two other people that were really interested, but there were not many applicants, so it was quite easy for you to get into it. That's what we thought at that time. But it is really fantastic to see how far she has come, because I know she had spoken about it and she used to write a bunch, and then as time went by, she was we were in between, like when I was in Bangalore and all, we were in touch, but then we lost touch in between. And then I saw her messaging me that she's written her first book, which was If I Hadn't Met You. And I read that and I was like, shit, man, she actually wrote a book. Like, that's okay. And then I don't know, she went incognito, and then I saw her WhatsApp story, and there was like this guy coming up walking and like, meet the prince. And I was like, she's written another book. And then I googled her name. Like I went to Amazon, I saw there were like 4 books, like, and I messaged like, Shalini, what are you doing? Like you're printing a book like every month or what? So it was exciting, but then I definitely had to pick this book because you can see the book cover is interesting. I'm a little over halfway through it. I'm not going to talk spoilers, but as the Abhilash was saying, it's interesting because you're juggling between, like, each chapter kind of keeps switching between different worlds. And the best part of Shalini's writing that I love is how visual it is. I can imagine like a movie set, and I can actually imagine like things happening. And I know we almost lived on the same campus, like from lunch to dinner, we have spent so much time together. So I kind of know her as a person. And I think her confident on the campus, so she would share certain things that were close to her. Not everybody was privy to them, but it's nice to see her writing style reflecting that and playing out on the fantasies and a bunch of things. So it's I'm just so proud of her, the fact that she's perceived it, and it's kudos, right? As you were saying earlier, Niladri, is that this is a side profession for a bunch of people now. It doesn't become a main one. So how convinced are you to keep pursuing it forward? So that is that. And I totally believe what Rajesh was saying earlier. I think he would be the one pushing her. She since they have been together, I'm sure she's used him as a rock to just kind of get that support from him. And yeah, I can totally relate to what she's saying. So congratulations, really proud of you, and really happy to be part of this. I am so thankful that I got to get to MICA to actually be able to meet all of you people. And the other reason it's MICA, not MICA. That's how we call it, the Micans. Okay. So every time you're reading MICA, it's MICA. Oh, it's MICA, but it's all good. But yeah, that's it from my end. Thank you so much for making me part of this.
Okay. Kiska MICA? That is the point.
वो अभी नहीं पता.
Okay, so our next speaker is Shagufta. Again, a very quick introduction of her. Oh, sorry. This is my wallpaper, if somebody can believe it. Okay, so Shagufta is a senior product manager at Clouds. Is it SEAC or Cloud Stack? I'm not sure, but it is what it is. She's passionate about building products from zero to scale and building AI-based solution for e-commerce. In her free time, she loves to nurture plants and has her own organic farm in her backyard. She has known Shalini right from her school days, where they had connected over their mutual love for poems and literature. Okay, so Shagufta, you guys go back a long way. What I see from here.
Cool. So I'm going to spill the beans, the most weighted ones. So I mean, I don't know why Shalini started with this saying that, hey, I didn't know how to write novel and all those stuff, because I have seen that transition. We were in school and we used to, I mean, when I saw her first time, I was like, okay, she's not going to be in my friend circle. She's nerdy, geek, who's topping in class, who's going and participating in dance, who's topping in physical education, even in sports. Oh, come on, leave something for us, for some backbenchers. And I used to envy her. I was like, okay, there is nothing common. But she was really approachable person, a humble, a very good soul. So slowly, gradually, we used to write for Hindustan Times. There was a teen writing competition, and I saw her name. Then I was like, okay, now this is what we have common. And slowly, gradually, we started talking to each other, and we found our mutual connection, and then we became friends. I saw the transition happening, right? Someone who was getting 98% plus in science and writing fantasy on Hindustan Times. I was like, holy, this is not going to go. And I was a person who used to write what I used to see on the street. So we had two different genre or style of writing. And somehow I could see that how this whole fantasy has translated into science fiction, right? Because she knows how to bring authenticity and credibility of science in her writing. And this is what she has evolved. So what I've seen in her writing style is it works like a time machine. With the way you evolve and you transfer through pages to chapter to chapter, you see how he's incorporating her love for science into in her writing style. So that is something that I've always admired. That is very inspiring. And seriously, we started together, and now I see that she has 3-4 books coming up. I was like, very intimidating, but really way to go. Hats off to you, more power to you. I cannot be more proud of you for that. But one thing that people, I knew that this book will come in future. When I met Shalini after school in Bangalore, and we were traveling in BMTC. And we had this whole idea that we used to look around, admire hot looking guys. And so one of the BMTC bus, we were sitting together chit-chatting, and we saw there were two guys sitting next to us, and they were like, Shalini, you're like, both of them are hot. I said, yeah, both of them are hot. And then she was like, what happens in a world where we can love two people? And I was like, okay, this is not going well, because you are going back to your husband and I'm dropping you to next bus station. So, and that's how we the whole story started. And I was like, when I read this book, she told me the story, I was like, I knew this was coming. It was always there in your head. And I'm not surprised that this is her first book. So yeah, absolutely, this is the background of the story, guys. The inspiration comes from the hot looking guys around her. So and there are many more. So I think the Shalini should more focus. I mean, I really want, because I'm around technology, I have been startup. So I want that her next book should, we launch a gaming app into metaverse and launch the success party should happen that way. So, and I'm going to be the investor for that. Absolutely. You are there. We are there to root for you. We are there to support you. So let's make it happen. Next time we are meeting in metaverse, not on Zoom, guys. So much love for you.
The bar has just been raised.
I know.
Okay, thank you, Shogupta, for those lovely tidbits and anecdotes. Anybody else would like to speak? Lee, perhaps, if you'd like to say a couple of words.
Sure. Yes, Shalini, congratulations. I admit I've only just cracked the cover on it today, but I don't know. I chewed through the first 5 chapters pretty quickly, and I can happily say that I'm hooked, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. There's been a lot of things said, and I feel that there's an awful lot of ingredients that go into a good book or a good novel or a good story. And we've touched on most of them. Most people have sort of chipped in different parts of the formula. You know, obviously the huge amounts of support that she receives from her husband. And as her school friends have said, she's always had the ideas and had the passion. And well, Niladri, you know, you need a good editor. You know, all these things are very, very important to bringing a book to fruition. But the one thing that's nobody's mentioned, and I'm surprised, because I've only just met Shalini recently through TCC, and I saw it right away just through interaction with her. I mean, I think probably the most important ingredient for any good novel is you need boatloads of talent. I mean, and that you have. You know, not everybody can write. If everybody could, then everybody would. So the first and foremost ingredient that you need to pull off a book of this magnitude is to be able to write, and to be able to write well. And as I've said, I've only just cracked the cover on it, but from what I've read, I certainly believe that you can, and I am thoroughly looking forward to finishing this off. So best of luck to you. Hearty congratulations. And once I get through this one, I'll dig into your old ones too.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you so much. A little introduction of Lee. L.A. Nolan. He's one of the most distinguished writers that we have working in the writing sphere today. His last book, Blood and Brown Sugar, was published by Lead Start, and it broke barriers. It did awesome, and I think Lee is gearing up for more books. And Lee, like Shalini, has got an amazing productive, rate of production. I mean, these two people, I think in TCC, I think they are the most productive writers, Lee and Shalini. I mean, I've been sitting with a book for the last 1 year and not doing anything, and these people are just writing one book after the other. And not only books, they also contribute in anthologies and stuff like that. Every time TCC has an anthology, we invariably find Lee and Shalini as a part of those. And also Lee and Shalini are with us with TCC since our inception. So they are our oldest members. So thank you, Lee. Thank you for coming here again, as you always do. Thank you very much. So now we have a very quick interactive session that we have decided just to, if it's not possible for everyone to, be a speaker and talk. So if any one of you who hasn't been able to speak, have any questions for Shalini, then please go ahead and you can ask anything to Shalini that you want to about the book, about her writing, about any hot guys she may have seen on any buses, about anything. Okay, so please go ahead. Just unmute yourself. Anybody who's got a question, and please go ahead. I believe Prachi had a question. Prachi, you can just unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for such a beautiful invitation. Right? Actually, Shalini ma'am, this is your first book I have ever read. So while reading the book, a phase came where a special person dies in the story. So the description was so emotional that I was almost in tears. So I wanted to know that how do you make this type of emotional scenes that just make so much heart touching pieces, you know?
Shalini, I think what she's
Yeah.
basically asking is how do you write the emotional parts of the book or your
Yeah.
stories?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for the question, Prachi. So I know which scene you are referring to, and this scene was not really part of the story at first. You know, when the protagonist loses her grandmother. So while I was writing the book, I lost my grandmother. Okay, and I was the closest. I mean, I am the closest to my grandmother. So it had a lot of impact on me, and I had just joined my job, so I couldn't even meet her when she was there. So I just went when she had passed away. So, you know, though that time I'm like, I'm feeling overwhelmed talking about it. I've never spoken about it before. So that time I actually wrote in my journal about how I felt and what happened and all of those things. And in the story, somehow the story found a plot line, and, you know, those things just came into the story. So yeah, that's behind the scenes bit of it. So yeah, I draw from my personal life or around me. Yeah. But thank you for the
That was the
question.
most beautiful. Thank you.
I think a lot of us do, you know, as writers, we draw a lot from our experiences and things that we have seen, you know, go through. I remember I wrote something not from personal experience, but from something that one of my friends had gone through. So I think it's always an amalgamation of stuff that inspires you. I think Rubina has a question. I think she has Thirtika. Okay, Thirtika, please go ahead.
Hi, ma'am. First of all, congratulations on your book. This is the first book like Prachi for me. Your first book I have read. You said you have write this book for like past 5 years. It is not a one-day job. So I have a nagging question in my brain, like, your initial idea might have been changed, right? Whether this 5 years might have influenced the way the story should have gone, but it was not in the original plot. So how did you manage and bring the story alive, ma'am?
Thank you, Tirthika, for the question. So I think when you stay with a story for way too long, the story, it almost becomes real. You know, I mean, you cannot run away from it. It overpowers you. It consumes you. It consumes your life routine. It is hard to stay away from it. So that's what happened with this one also. And because it took such a long time, there were a lot of changes that happened. For example, I did not intend to bring the past in the story initially, but over time while writing, that's how it turned out to be. You know, like some things just forced themselves into the story. You don't plan for it; it just happens, and it's like the characters, they decide, no, I don't want what you have planned for me. I want this. And there is no other way you can do it. So the story takes a life of its own, I think. So yeah, that's what happened. But thank you for this question.
Very true. Rubina, I think Rubina also had a question. Rubina, you can just unmute yourself, turn your video on.
Ma'am, first of all, I would like to congratulate you for the
Rubina,
new
please
book.
turn your video on. Please turn your video on and then you can ask the question, please.
Yes,
Thank
now
you.
it's okay.
Yes, it's okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to congratulate ma'am for her new book, and I wish your book a huge success for in India also and abroad also. Ma'am, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, thanks. Sure, Rubina.
How did the idea came in your mind to write this book? I mean the genre and all.
Okay. I think I was bored of my world. In one simple line. It was not happening enough and it was monotonous. So I was like, what if you could go back in time? And when you are going back, why not go a long time back, you know? A time when we really don't know how things were, you know, like in the time of the kings, the palaces that we rarely see in movies also. So, and how it would feel for a modern girl to go to that place, and how will she feel? How will she, what are the kind of things she would struggle with? And given a choice, would she really want to stay in that world? You know? So that was the basic premise that opened the doors to this story. Yeah.
Ma'am, you know, since when your book has been launched, I've seen this book all over the Bookstagram. Like it's flooded everywhere.
Okay.
Signs of good times.
Yeah, that goes to TCC because they are the ones who are marketing this book. So thank you, Niladri.
Abhijit has a question. Yes, Abhijit.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Salini ma'am. And I am a reviewer and I'm also trying my hand on new writing, short stories. And I also published a book on my own. So I want to know, I am a budding author. So I want to know what your advice for the new authors, that how the way they should proceed with the story and how they can make a good story. What is your advice to the new authors like us?
Yeah. Okay. Abhijit, first of all, congratulations on publishing your own book. It's no easy feat. I know it. So yeah, you are there. You have gotten there. So yeah, good job. Coming to advice, Abhijit, one thing that I think new authors, even like us, we should be very careful about is when you are building a character. It's very easy to make the character follow your plot line, but until and unless those characters are three-dimensional people like you and me, until and unless you make the reader know the character as well as you know them, they will not be able to connect with those characters. And if they couldn't connect with the characters, they will not care about the plot. They will not care about whatever is happening with that character. They will not be interested in your book. So I think if you can nail the character, the journey of the character, if you make the character undergo a complete arc, like they start from somewhere and they end up somewhere else, like it happens in the real life, if you can show their fear, motivation, desires, not just telling it, but showing it through their journey, then you have gotten it right. That's the goal we all should, aim for when we are writing a story. So yeah,
that's some solid advice there. That's some really solid advice right there. And finally, Lee also has a question. So Lee has raised his hand. I can see that. So
yeah, just a quick one. I hope I'm not, without getting too technical. As I said, I'm only about 5 chapters in, so perhaps the question will answer itself once I get a little deeper. I haven't uncovered all the plot points yet, but so far it seems to be very character-centric, the novel. And so I was curious if at any point you consider writing in first person. It just, the point that I'm at now, I hit a nerve. Okay.
Not just mine, Lee, not just mine. Someone else is also giggling,
I saw. It just seems to be very character centric to me. And as I said, I haven't uncovered all the plot points yet. So I don't know what led you to that decision, but was it considered at all?
Lee, for this story, like I told you, it was my first novel, so definitely not considered, because I wanted to be able to jump into the heads of most of the characters, shift point of views. And I was not very sure if I want to stay in the main protagonist head all the time. If I want just to know her side of the story, I wanted to know everyone's side of story, especially when she is moving back in time, the characters there, what are they thinking? How are they, there are some people who know that she is coming from the future, how they are feeling, their internal desires, motivations, fear. You cannot bring that out if you are only going in first person point of view. So that never came in picture. But with my current work in progress, I was struggling with this piece, and Niladri is aware of it. So yeah, maybe at some future point, I will consider switching to first point of view, but not with this one.
And
Great question.
before anybody gets their hopes up, Shalini was endeavoring to write in first person for her current work, and I just shot the idea off and told her, don't do it. 3 words, don't do it. Because the story that she's currently writing, again, it needs to be said from multiple point of views. And although you can do it in first person, I mean, you can. My book had 2-person narratives. The first two main characters both had their first person narrative. It can be done, but I felt for her work, this particular work, as well as for this book or whatever she has written, because Shalini's book is kind of very much akin to an Indian soap opera, sort of, with lots of characters and places and motivations. So I think the third person suits well. Right. So I think we've come to the evening, but before we go, I'd just like to sum up this entire Shalini's entire writing and her productivity with one little anecdote from my side. For the past 2 years, almost 2 years, just over 2 years, there has not been a single day where I've not had a Shalini Ranjan project in my kitty, sort of. Whatever I'm working on, I always have at least one project from Shalini lying with me. So that's how good her productivity is. So thank you, Shalini. Thank you for writing the book. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So again, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and for everybody who's watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching, and the link of Shalini's book is going to be given in the description. Please click on it. Please read it. It's available on Kindle and free on Kindle Unlimited. It's been getting great reviews, so I'm pretty sure that you're not going to regret picking up the book. Also, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Creative Circle channel. We have lots of interesting content coming up, especially in January, starting from January 2023. We're going through a complete overhaul of our video content, and there are going to be a lot more video content coming up relating mostly to the literary world and relating to writing mostly, but relating to other areas of creativity as well. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Thanks, Niladri. Thanks, Chitra.
Thanks.